Our generation will be known for nothing. Never will anybody say we were the peak of mankind. That is wrong. The truth is, our generation was a failure. Thinking that we actually succeeded is a waste, and we know living only for money and power is the way to go. Being loving, respectful, and kind is a dumb thing to do. Forgetting about that time will not be easy, but we will try. Changing our world for the better is something we never did. Giving up was how we handled our problems. Working hard was a joke. We knew that people thought we couldn't come back. That might be true, unless we turn things around. This was a poem written by a 14-year-old boy that describes how others perceive our generation. What happened to us along the way to make others feel so negative? We did what we were supposed to do, get our high school diplomas, and some of us went off to college and began to discover who we are. That's it. We began our own journey that just so happens to prolong the time before we consider ourselves adults. This process we experience is referred to as emerging adulthood. It is a new life stage that helps one understand what is going on to prevent the placement of negative stereotypes. It describes the experiences of late teens to at least their mid-20s as a time of identity exploration and figuring out what we actually want in life. Understanding that financial difficulties, job changes, and love complications are all temporary situations, and eventually everything will work itself out. Dr. Jeffrey Arnett is a research professor at Clark University. Through researching hundreds of emerging adults, he has proposed 5 features that he feels are distinctive during this life cycle. The first being identity exploration, meaning we are trying to figure out who we want to become. We often work low-end jobs that are laying the groundwork for our actual adult job. In fact, the average age of marriage has risen to 27, simply because we put these relationships on hold to focus on other aspects in our lives. Research suggests that our frontal lobe, the part of the brain responsible for decision making, is not fully developed until our mid to late 20s. So at what point did it become realistic to ask an 18-year-old to decide what they want to do for the rest of their lives? Well, for the few that know they are destined to be doctors and lawyers have it made. As for the rest of us, we will still be asking ourselves, what am I going to do with my life as we walk across the stage? We are also very likely to experience a quarter-life crisis during this time. Yes, I said a quarter-life crisis. It stems from the lack of accomplishment of the goals we had set for ourselves, when it is unrealistic to think that within only 2 or 3 years after graduating college, you'll be well established in your career or on your way to marriage. We begin to realize that it may take longer than we thought to fully become financially independent, find our soulmate, and change the world. Emerging adults will have as many as 8 jobs by the time he or she turns 32. Living situations are changing more than ever. Some choose to cohabitate with friends or significant others, and some choose to move back home during transitional periods. This characteristic is the age of instability. Because of this, we are often perceived as indecisive and immature, when really this is the time our original plan we set leading us into adulthood is being revised and rewritten, providing us with experiences that contribute to our decisions made as adults. Then there is the self-focused age, which is where a lot of generations consider us selfish for not wanting to have those long-term commitments and obligations such as family and career so soon. We desire to enjoy our freedom, travel, and figure out what we like and don't like in our lives before we become limited in our later years. Arnett asked many of the individuals he researched, "Do you feel like you have reached adulthood?" And rarely was the response a simple yes or no. This is the age of feeling in between. We don't really feel the struggle of adolescence anymore, but we are still closely tied to our parents. The top 3 characteristics that our generation used to define adulthood include accepting responsibility for yourself, making independent decisions, and having financial independence. Until we feel that we have accomplished all 3, we really don't consider ourselves to be adults. For instance, I am completely financially independent from my parents, which for some means being an adult. But I feel like my life has been in limbo during my stay in the TCU bubble, and I'm stuck in this period of, yes, I can cook my own dinner, and yes, I pay my own bills, but I still get stuck in front of the TV sometimes and watch an entire season of my favorite show while eating ice cream out of the bucket. Are adults supposed to do that? Finally, the age of possibilities. We are described as extremely optimistic with high hopes and great expectations. This feeling of optimism is not to be confused with the idea that life is just going great. But majority of us sincerely believe that eventually we will overcome past experiences and end up where we want to be in life. Unfortunately, we get mocked for this optimism when really our generation is choosing not to settle. We are choosing to have these experiences that contribute to our wisdom and pursuit of happiness. As I mentioned before, the poem I read in the beginning describes how others perceive our generation. But when read backwards, the poem reveals what we think of ourselves. Unless we turn things around, that might be true. People thought we couldn't come back. We knew that was a joke. Working hard was how we handled our problems. Giving up is something we never did. Changing the world for the better will not be easy, but we will try. Forgetting about that time is a dumb thing to do. Being loving, respectful, and kind is the way to go. Living only for money and power is a waste, and we know we actually succeeded, thinking that our generation was a failure. That is wrong. The truth is, we were the peak of mankind. Never will anybody say our generation will be known for nothing.